think it was very hard to talk about Christ consciousness, which is actually a curveball because we were gonna talk about some wineskin. So maybe there's a reason to it. We are following Maria's divine intuition. But yeah, Christ consciousness, dude. What is the importance of that? I think when I think of Christ consciousness, the first thing I think of is like back in Christianity, like Christ consciousness was like a word that we did not fucking use because like it was like a new age word, you know. And like they're like, yo, what they're saying about Christ consciousness is not it. Don't even read into it. Don't even look into it because it's not for us, you know. But Christians talks about being in the Christian sectors that memory are from. But anyways, like they talk about being like Christ centered, you know. They talk about like what else?
Well, they have an awareness of Christ being at the center of our attention, and Christ being at the center of the church, and Christ being center. So they take this term and they use it as a goalpost.
I know, and the thing about it, like, you're always gonna miss the goalpost if you're thinking about it like that, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, what does that mean, right?
Right.
But with that idea, like for me personally, I was like, man, like people always talk about like what would Jesus do to just try to like to close the chasm of that disconnect with that idea.
Right.
But like what would Jesus do? And like 9 times out of 10 I ain't gonna do what Jesus did, you know?
You're not going to do what Jesus did within the construct of morality. You are going to do what Jesus did, because if you look at the stories of Jesus while he was here on earth, he was hanging with prostitutes, he was flipping tables in the church, he was like angry at the people that like, we don't talk about the stories in the context of who Jesus actually was. Mm-hmm. You know, we talk about him in this context of like, he gave his life, he laid down his life. And what does that look like? What does it look like for a woman to lay down her life? Right. What does it look like to lay down your life in different scenarios?
And the game about it is like that actually like gets you set up for like being victims, you know? Mm-hmm. They'll call it you being is practicing humility and everything, and it's practice selflessness. But you're making a victim out of yourself if you look at it the wrong way, you know.
I think the other thing I want to add to that portion of it is that. Beyond victimhood, it also creates a mentality of you don't trust yourself. You don't ever learn the way that your body functions. And I want to like obviously press in on that later, but like it's looking very much like, I think there were so many times where when I was asking big questions, when I was asking big questions within the church. And I was like, well, how do you find faith? How do you find a place to trust in what you're believing in, right? And it was like, well, I just trust in God. I'm like, okay, well, like, what does that look like? And they're like, oh, surrender. Okay, what are you surrendering? What are you surrendering it to, right? Oh, I'm surrendering it to an outside force, right? And what we're talking about in Christ consciousness is that you're surrendering actually to what you've come to understand in your body and your mind and your spirit. As the Christ conscious. You're surrendering your human desires, emotions, yearnings, lusts to your higher version of yourself, the Christ within yourself. What's your version of that?
I would say, I'm going to take it the long way around, but like, after I started entertaining like more like new age ideas, like they started talking about Christ consciousness, you know, and then as those ideals evolved into like almost like, which is a new age term too, like the new earth, like how do you actually exist in the new earth, right? Now, like, you can't bring the old way into the new earth, right? You can't bring the mind that like is saying that like I'm a lowly sinner and like I'm saved by Christ's sacrifice and so forth, but I'm forever indebted to his sacrifice, you know? Mm-hmm. Like you can't actually bring that into the new earth. So like the converging into like this idea of the new earth, which is like this idea of like, to be honest, like I want to say like it's the idea of the kingdom of heaven materializing, you know? it is like the redeemed nature of the world is now existing, you know. But at the same time, like, I think the new earth is also like a frequency, you know. It's a perspective, a way of looking at everything, you know.